G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now, I've just published another article on the Governor-General, the $18 million charity fraud, the Australian Futures Leaders Foundation it's called. And I cover a lot of issues. There's a spreadsheet in there that details all the meetings that the Governor-General had with Chris Hartley, who's the CEO of the Australian Futures Leaders Foundation, and also all the meetings he had with Scott Morrison. So there's a bit of a timeline, so you can see there's a few things that stand out. Firstly, the fact that on the 17th of August 2022 this year, the day after Scott Morrison had his press conference where he tried to justify the 5 ministerial appointments for himself, the day after, the Governor-General was meeting with Chris Hartley and the board, the other two board members of the Australian Futures Leaders Foundation. To me, it was obviously a crisis meeting. They'd be worried that their $18 million grant, which is $3.6 million over 5 years, is going to be cancelled. I'm not too sure if it started yet. That's unknown. I don't know if they got the first $3.6 million, but they'd obviously be worried people. The government's going to investigate Scott Morrison and his dodgy appointments. They should be investigating the Governor-General in that $18 million grant, which he lobbied Scott Morrison for, personally lobbied him for. Also, so they've met the day after. Obviously, the next question that needs to be answered is, did Scott Morrison use his secret appointment as Federal Treasurer to approve the $18 million grant? So that's another question that needs to be answered in relation to that matter. And one of the other points I raise is that you'll see in the Governor-General's program, you can go onto his website, it has his program. It's gone back 2 years, a spreadsheet I've published on the article, in the article. So you can see for yourself, but in there, sometimes they call it the Governor-General's Australian Futures Leaders Foundation, and other times they just call it the Australian Futures Leaders Foundation. So that is very odd, and that's something the Governor-General could and should answer. Now, there is a precedent whereby that the $80 million grant can be cancelled. Back before the 2007 election, Malcolm Turnbull, who was Environment Minister at the time, signed off on a $10 million grant to the Rainwater Corporation, who claimed they could make it rain. Now, obviously, it was a fraud. They couldn't make it rain. One of the executives was Matt Hambury, who was also one of the fundraisers or donators to Malcolm Turnbull's re-election campaign. So it was very, very dodgy indeed. Now, the government department recommended giving a $2 million grant. Malcolm Turnbull boosted that up to $10 million. Never explained why. It was obviously a kickback. Give him $10 million and he'll donate more to Malcolm Turnbull's re-election campaign. That's the only inference you can really draw. Anyhow, after the election, the Kevin Rudd government cancelled that grant. Now, they did manage to get a couple of million, I understand, but they didn't get the full $10 million. So given that's the precedent, certainly the Anthony Albanese government can cancel the $18 million grant to the Australian Futures Leaders Foundation, which at this point in time doesn't have an office, no website, no staff. Very, very dodgy indeed. So they could and should cancel that immediately. Now, I'll be following up on that anyhow, because the government have announced they're going to have an investigation into Scott Morrison and his 5 dodgy appointments, ministerial appointments. So they should be investigating the $18 million grant too, because it's all tied in, or it seems to be tied in, at least to some degree. So that has to be covered as well. If it's not, that's a scandal in itself. Now, please share this video on Facebook, Twitter, etc. And regular viewers will know I've set up a Patreon account a week and a half ago. It's currently sitting on 91 patrons. And I think that's a reasonable start, but please help out and make a small pledge. You can start off at $3. Most people can afford that. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.